We're starting to get to the point where we have to stop saying the Blue Jays have had a couple of good months and start saying maybe they're really good. But also, we cannot sleep on the Texas Rangers. They are creeping up on everyone.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us on Twitter or whatever it's called now on Locked On MLB Pods. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully, man. Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTubes. And if you send me a comment on any of those social media platforms, make sure to put that hashtag EverydaySully in there. That way we can certainly do our best to find you. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And before we do anything else today, let's take a look at the trivia question where we talked about I put together a proposed trade involving Joe Ryan. Some trades are starting up. We'll talk about that in one of the later segments of today's show. The question was, what all-star player did the Twins trade to acquire Joe Ryan? And the answer, Jackson Van Hooser got it correct. That would be Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz was traded from the Twins to the Rays. The Rays had a great run at the end of 2021. Somehow they lost to a really thin Red Sox team. I don't quite understand why. And the Twins got an all-star pitcher out of it. So sometimes those trade a veteran for a prospect trade can actually work out. Hey, I want to just sort of be Superman right now and spin the world back and take us back just a little bit, because it was not that long ago that the Toronto Blue Jays were kind of, well, they're on the outside looking in. And where the heck did I have 9,000? Here we go. On the 5th day, on the 27th day of May, just approaching, the whole Labor Day time, which I think is the first real checkpoint of the baseball season, the Blue Jays were 8 games behind the New York Yankees. They were 26-28, and they were a classic mediocre team who were not quite good enough to be in the playoffs, not quite bad enough to tear the whole team down. It's that horrible middle zone. And they were hovering right around 500. There were 2 games under 500. This is approximately 2 months ago, more or less 2 months ago. Floundering, a couple of games under 500, and, it didn't look like they were in the same caliber as, say, the top teams like the Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, the Detroit Tigers. Obviously, they were in the same caliber as the Blue Jays. They were the Blue Jays. I bring those 2 teams up specifically because those were by far the 2 best teams in the American League. After that date, the Toronto Blue Jays have played the best baseball in all the major leagues. They have played 50 games since then and have won 36 of them. They are 36-14 in those approximate 2 months of the season. That's the best record in the American League by far, by 5 games over Houston and Boston. By the way, in that same stretch, the Yankees are 22-27, but I digress. Since then, the Blue Jays have leapfrogged the Yankees and are in first place, with, quite frankly, a little bit of a cushion right now. We are approaching the trade deadline. In less than a week, we will be in August, and the Blue Jays have a 5.5 game lead. They also have the season series against the New York Yankees. No matter what, the Yankees could win every game against the Blue Jays remaining 22-0. and the Jays will still have won the season series, which means if the Jays and the Yankees finish tied, then the Jays would have the edge. But are the Yankees going to catch this team? Well, I don't know if you saw how the Yankees have played in that same 2-month stretch. They have played the worst baseball in the American League East. They lost again in a game against the Philadelphia Phillies, where they made, again, some errors because they can't field. They're a terrible fielding team. They hit 4 home runs in that game and scored 5 runs, which means the Yankees can only score when they are hitting solo home runs. But we're talking about the Blue Jays right now. And Jose Barrios pitched well yesterday. He pitched a good game. And you got really good performances from their big stars. You saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. come up, and you saw George Springer come up. And they fell behind early on Thursday in the game against Detroit, and then wound up blowing the doors off the dump. And then yesterday they fell behind early, and next thing you know, the Jays took the lead, and they cruised to a 6-2 win. This is a Tiger team who, granted, are in a bit of a slide right now. But that slide has, the whole thought was, well, they had a rough road trip. Now they're going to come home and they're going to play the Jays. And they're going to show the Jays who's in charge. The Jays are in charge. Oh, and by the way, the Jays are in charge when they played New York. Even when New York won that dramatic game that Ben Rice hit the home run, the other 2 games, the Yankees didn't realize those games counted. They were flat. Or were they flat, or are the Blue Jays good? There seems to be a lot of effort made to come up with excuses other than the fact that maybe the best team in the American League, currently the best team in baseball, may be good. Maybe we have to start to adjust how we're talking about them. Vladdy Guerrero signs a long-term deal. He's having a terrific year. Is he having an MVP year? No, but he's having a terrific year. George Springer's having a terrific year. You're starting to see Bo Bichette be involved in all these big hit games, and Alejandro Kirk starting to do his job well. And Barger's starting to hit the ball well. They're doing all this, getting nothing from their big acquisition of Anthony Santander. But you look up, Barrios is pitching well. Chris Bassett is pitching well. Kevin Gausman is pitching well. Eric Lauer threw a damn masterpiece the other day. Holy Phil Esposito with Hoffman starting to pitch well out of the bullpen. Brandon Little's doing well. Have you noticed they have a good pitching staff? Have you noticed they can hit? Have you noticed they've been playing at this level? And haven't we seen this in recent World Series champions like Atlanta, like Washington, where they got off to a bad start and all of a sudden it clicks and things go on, and like the Millennium Falcon, they just shoot off. Maybe we got to start giving the Toronto Blue Jays the credit they deserve for, and say it with me, maybe they're pretty good. Maybe it isn't just that they're catching teams on a bad night. Maybe it isn't just, well, you know what, they caught a flat Yankee team, or they caught a flat Toronto team. Maybe the flatness is teams facing one of the better teams in baseball, and I didn't see this coming. It took a while for me to turn around on this Blue Jay team. I didn't trust John Schneider as a manager. I had no reason to. And they were the definition of mediocrity. Now, that they were mediocre the first third of the season. They've been fantastic the second third of the season. The second third of the season is about to be over. That's after the trade deadline. If they are merely good the last third, I don't see this Yankee team making up 5.5 games if they can't pitch. Their bullpen is disaster. They can't score a run without hitting a home run. They can't field, and they have an idiot as a manager. Now, Schneider may still be an idiot as a manager, but all I'm seeing is a team that's clicking. Now, there's another team that's clicking in the American League that also seems to have all the components, except one thing right now. They are currently not a playoff team, but they seem to be working on that. Okay, let's hear from our good friends over at Gametime. Hey, let me tell you something. There have been times I've wanted to go to a ball game and do it at the spur of the moment. I may check out the Giants and the Mets this weekend. I don't know what I'm doing. But if it's game day, you suddenly realize you want to be there, that's where game day comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, those foam weird number one finger, or even invite a friend to you. But you know what? I like going to games alone because who wants to talk to me during the game? But do you want to maybe buy another ticket anyway? Because do you know what? Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Price on the apps actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they're incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. It's the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, and it makes it easy to browse the app for exciting Major League games like the Red Sox and the Dodgers at Fenway, or the Blue Jays when they play anybody. Seat views in the app before you buy. So do you what? You know exactly where you're sitting, exactly the view. You got to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you exactly what they are. They are guaranteed. The Red Sox lost. The Mariners lost a walk-off game to the Angels despite getting 2 home runs from Julio Rodriguez. The Yankees don't realize they're a major league team, and they just hit solo home runs, make errors, and their bullpen stinks. So all the wild card teams in the American League lost a game in the standings. And hey, look at that. Nathan Eovaldi and the Texas Rangers beat the Atlanta Braves last night. And with that, the Texas Rangers have pulled to within half a game of a playoff spot. Now, I don't think it takes a great amount of imagination to see the Rangers leapfrogging the Red Sox, who I think are a flawed team. We've all seen the Mariners can lose any division lead. And they had a division. They were in the first place by themselves in September of 2023. They had a 10-game lead last year. This year they had another lead on the Astros, and now they're barely hanging on to a wild card spot. Tumble, tumble, tumble. I'll tumble for you. Yeah, Boy George that. You take a look at this Ranger team. They're okay. Their lineup isn't great. I think that I've been screaming they need a Ryan. If they need to make a deal for Ryan O'Hearn or someone like that they can just plug into the lineup as a major league hitter. If they do that, let me just say something to you. Patrick Corbin's been pitching pretty well. Kumar Rocker has been up and down, but he's shown some talent. They have Jacob deGrom. They have Nathan Eovaldi. If they get a wild card spot and you have to face Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi in games 1 and 2, you're losing one of those games. Best case scenario is you have a do or die game 3. And you're doing that against Bruce Bochy, the Boch, who has shown that, first of all, he has no pressure on him. He's already rehearsing his Hall of Fame speech. And the Rangers have no pressure on them because they already won a World Series a couple of years ago. So even if you get through the gauntlet of deGrom and Eovaldi, you're not going to beat him in a do or die game 3. Or if you do, boy, is my hat tipped. And we're going to talk about a hat in the next segment. Do you want to face them in a short series? Every year there's a team that is a road team in the wild card series that advances. Last year was the Mets. The year before it was the World Series matchup of the Diamondbacks and the Bochy-led, I almost said Giants, Rangers. You saw Philadelphia make the World Series a few years ago. You saw the Braves in 2021. You saw the Nationals be a wild card team, win the whole kit, and also the caboodle in 2019. There's always a team like that, and there's no more obvious example for that than this year's Texas Rangers. Holy Toledo. If they leapfrog the Red Sox and they're a wild card team, they're more proven than the Blue Jays. The biggest hurdle for the Blue Jays is to make up for their postseason shortcomings. And if they don't, I wouldn't want to face this Ranger team. I picked them to win the pennant. They go off to a clunky start. Now they are a mere if all they have to if the Red Sox lose to the Dodgers and the Rangers beat the Braves, they're a playoff team in late July, and I don't see them looking back. By the way, let's talk about who owned baseball yesterday. Nick Kurtz. We'll get to him in a second. Nick Kurtz had an amazing game. Someone named Zebby Matthews. I love the name Zebby. Zebby Matthews struck out in 7 Nationals over 6 shutout innings. Twins won 1-0. Ryan Nelson. The Diamondbacks are going to sell everything isn't nailed down, but Ryan Nelson is still pitching well. And the Diamondbacks won a 1-0 thriller against the Pirates. Great defense saved the day for the Diamondbacks. And the aforementioned Kyle Schwarber got on base 4 times, including a pair of home runs. And the Yankees pulled away late and beat the Phillies pulled away late and beat the Yankees 12-5. Half-wobs. Brian Wu, man, he keeps losing games that he pitches well in. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings with the Mariners bullpen, dropped the 3-2 game to the Angels. Julio Rodriguez in that same game hit a pair of home runs, but they lost. Jesse McGuire collected 3 hits, including a home run, but the Cubs were clobbered by the White Sox 12-5. Mike Burrows pitched 6 shutout innings for the Pirates in the 1-0 loss. And then, of course, there's Nick Kurtz. Nick Kurtz for your Sacramento A's became the 20th person in Major League history to have 4 home runs. He was a triple. He was a triple shy of the cycle, and instead of hitting a triple, he hit his 4th homer. He got 19 total bases, and the Sacramento A's. There you go. Your Sacramento A's clobbered Houston 15-3. Now, of course, that 4th home run came off of a position player. And a position player also pitched in the White Sox-Cubs game for the Cubs. And it kind of puts a tiny bit of a stink. It's kind of like the postseason cycle ends with a home run off of a position player pitching in the postseason, for goodness sakes. But it's not Nick Kurtz's fault that the Astros were getting their butts handed to them so badly that they put in a position player to pitch. I still believe I'm not a big fan of the position players pitching. It used to be fun. It would happen like once a year, maybe, and you would see a Mark Grace, you would see a Wade Boggs or someone like that pitch an inning, and it was kind of a novelty. Now it's part of the strategy because we burn through our pitchers so fast that you're like, oh my God, we've already used 6 pitchers. We can't do that anymore. You don't have innings eaters anymore. You don't have mop-up men anymore. And I think it stinks because you're also risking the health of the utility players pitching. And by the way, that the player who comes in to pitch, the position player comes in to pitch, is to the baseball team what the guy who has to go and start the Mafia Don's car is in the pecking order of the mob. Hey, go start my car. Because boom, if it blows up like, the beginning of with Robert De Niro in the beginning of the Casino, hey, all we did was, Spider was the only one who blew up in that. Yeah, I can buy my Martin Scorsese films. What are you going to do? Right down here at, Everyday Sully. But, it's not Nick Kurtz's fault. He hit his 4 home runs. I still believe, if we're going to do this, I believe that you should be able to wave the white flag. Because you can't say it was for the integrity of the game. And you can't say, oh, the fans would feel ripped off. Other than Nick Kurtz's family, no one was left at, what the heck is that stadium called now? Is it still Minute Maid Park? People have criticized me for not keeping up to date on stadium names. I can't keep up to date. They change them all the time. Hell, let's call it what they originally called, Enron Field. At Enron Field, there wasn't anyone there. You should be able. So if it's after the 7th inning, you're losing by 10 runs or more, and you're like, we have no pitchers left, you wave the white flag. You wave the white flag. And do you what? Maybe if you call it a forfeit and it goes officially as a 9-0 game, all the other stats count, but it goes to the record book 9-0, that may actually help your run differential. If he gives 15-3, 9-0, I mean, you helped yourself out. I'm all for that because I don't see the need to risk the health of some poor schmuck utility infielder going up there lobbing up pitches and throwing batting practice. And by the way, um, if you think it's in bad taste to hit a home run off of a utility player pitching, then don't have the utility player pitch. You know, you're still playing the game, right? I don't know. I'm all for waving the white flag because I think that's better for baseball. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about a couple of the trades that took place, including one that the Yankees made that I think they had to make, and one that the Mets made that may be the beginning of a bunch of things happening. Hey, we're going to talk about our friends from Gametime Hue, and I got right here in my little grubby hands. This is a hat. Look at this hat. This is a quality hat, clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's all about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works at game day, on the course, and anywhere in between. If you're out there and you don't want to have a big huge logo on your hat, but you still want to make sure people know where your devotion is, you can do that. I, of course, here for my favorite navy blues. But this is a color of a Red Sox hat if I'm going out there. And if you're going to you're wearing it on the golf course, you wear it on tea time, you wear it at the barbecue. You don't always have to have the big logo showing everywhere. Sometimes they think, hey, I'm not a 7-year-old. Maybe you want to look a little more adult, yet still represent your colors. And it's not just hats. Check out the split shade gloves made for the golf course. Perfect for me when I hit the links, and I'm on the golf course more often than I care to admit. Right now, you get 15% off with code MLB15 at GamedayHue.com. That's GamedayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals. So now it's time to load up. Let your colors talk because colors speak louder than words. That's GamedayHue.com. Code MLB15. Hey, before we get going here, I just want to say thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, do you want to keep it right here, and you can hear the all-new Locked On MLB game night, every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night, Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. There were some trades that were made the last couple of days. The first, I think the most important one was Ryan McMahon being dealt from the Colorado Rockies over to the Yankees. It didn't cost that much for the Yankees. They sent two minor league pitchers who were Griffin Herring was one, and Josh Groves was the other. Thoughts and prayers to them as they go to the Rockies organization, which is a graveyard for pitchers. Ryan McMahon was an all-star last year. He's not having a great year this year, although he's been pretty good the last few weeks. But he's a third baseman who can field the position. And he's also playing for a rotten Rockies team, and he's not a robot. I'm sure the motivation for, showing up to the ballpark must be kind of depressing for him. So now you're going to put him in the middle of a pennant race. I was hoping that McMahon would stay until next year because that would mean he would spend 10 years with the Colorado Rockies. And for whatever reason, I find it cool when a player spends 10 years with a team that isn't a big market club. But I digress. Look at McMahon. They're not acquiring Brooks Robinson in his prime, but he is a good third baseman. He made the All-Star team last year. He can field the position, and they're just asking him to have 2 decent months. And 2 decent months at third base is an improvement over the black hole that they've been having of either playing players out of position like Jazz Chisholm or having players who can't hit like Peraza. He strikes out too much, fine, but he's at third baseman. That's a step up. That's a huge step up. The fact that who's our third baseman? Well, here's a name. Oh, he's actually a third baseman. So I think that's a smart trade for the Yankees, who, by the way, are apparently trying to get in on the St. Louis Cardinals, Brendan Donovan. And I understand that too. I don't think it sounds like a lot of teams are trying to get in on him. And the Cardinals are not that far back, so I don't know if they're necessarily going to be selling. You have to blow them out of the water. Gregory Soto, he is a well-traveled player now. The left-handed reliever, is going from Baltimore, who stink. He's going to the Mets, and this is step one. Now, Soto last year pitched for the Orioles in the postseason, and in 2023 he pitched for the Phillies in the postseason, and the Mets are hoping he pitches for the Mets in the postseason. So it'd be 3 straight years of 3 different teams. He was a 2-time All-Star as a reliever for Detroit. He pitched well for Philadelphia when they went to the National League Championship Series, had a bad half season with Baltimore last year, but it's been effective. And again, it's depth. They're not asking him to be the closer. They're asking him to be left-handed depth in the bullpen. And, he strikes out more. He has more strikeouts than innings pitched. Give him a little bit of depth in the team. I still think the Mets I still think the Mets should do a blockbuster. But again, any move that gets a player who's going to give him bullpen depth is fine. Josh Naylor was traded from the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are going to start trading everybody. Naylor was dealt to the Seattle Mariners. They sent Brandon Garcia, who already made his debut, and his family was all there wearing their Mariners gear. Better buy Diamondbacks gear. And then also another pitching prospect. Josh Naylor is this is a player who I felt the Rangers probably should have been interested in. He's good power, good all-around numbers, an all-star last year with Cleveland, and he's going to supply some pop for the Mariners. I think if you put him in that Rangers lineup, they go sky high. But it's a smart move for the Mariners, who are just they need some more spark plugs in that lineup as they're trying to hold on and find themselves a spot in the postseason. So you're going to see more trades coming around. I've seen some criticisms of the McMahon trade from Yankee World. I don't understand that. They gave up very little to get a major league third baseman. And even if you think he's mediocre, I think he's a little better than mediocre. But if you think he's mediocre, remember, third base has been terrible for the Yankees. So mediocre is better than terrible. So by definition, that's an improvement. But there you go. But, it's the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are the best team in the American League. And we got to start thinking about there's a larger than 0 chance that they'll go to the World Series. I'm not granting them a pennant yet. They got to prove themselves in the postseason. But right now, maybe we got to adjust how we think about them. But look out for a Bochy team that's coming around the bend. And it's going to bring us to our trivia question. And that is, it's a Blue Jays related question. What veteran all-star collected the first walk-off postseason victory in Toronto Blue Jays history? The first time the Blue Jays got a walk-off win, not their first postseason win. That was a Dave Stieb victory. By the way, Dave Stieb belongs in the Hall of Fame. But what veteran all-star collected the first walk-off postseason victory in Toronto Blue Jays history? Put that down in the YouTube comments here, and follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called these days, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, talking about the Blue Jays, who deserve some respect, the Rangers, who are going to get some respect, utility players pitching, which I don't really respect, and the Yankees making a deal that at least is a stopgap, which is, hey, better than nothing. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm yours, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.